Another loaded show coming your way on today's San Francisco 49ers Report. My name is Chase Sr. Thank you so much for hanging out here with me. 3 topics that I want to get to here on the program today. More Niners trade buzz from some ESPN NFL insiders. With the Niners' lack of running game, is the blame directed toward Christian McCaffrey, or is it this Niners offensive line? Really interesting and fascinating numbers that we're going to comb through, and how the Niners' schedule and how it sets up could impact their plans going into the NFL trade deadline. I want to begin here, though. With this video, I know that we can do it. You're called the faithful for a reason, right? And we ride and die together. We are 71 subscribers away from 177,000 subscribers right here on the 49ers Report. If you want Niners coverage every single day that is informative, insightful, entertaining, thought-provoking, where you have a voice, join the movement, hop on board, lock us in, and hit that subscribe button right now. And let's begin here. We know that the 49ers are banged up, but at 4-2, the big question is this. Will they be active in the trade market, especially after the injuries to Nick Bosa and Fred Warner? You can survive without one. Can you survive without both? And I have confidence in this young Niners linebacker room. Tatum Bethune, Nick Martin is going to get some action, but you lose Fred Warner. That's the heart and soul of your defense. That's the leader of your team. And he's one of the premier players across the entire NFL. So I think the Niners are going to hone in more so at edge rusher as compared to linebacker, and that seems like the direction that the Niners might go in. Here's what Jeremy Fowler of ESPN had to say about a potential Niners trade here. Yes, the 49ers have been scanning the trade market for pass rush options. I'm told the Niners consider Trey Hendrickson an ideal fit for their defense if the Bengals would part with him for reasonable compensation. But I'm also told Cincinnati has no plans to trade Hendrickson at this time. Those 3 key words, at this time. Despite a 2-4 record, they've lost 4 games in a row, by the way, Cincinnati plans to remain all in on this season, and the offense showed signs of life with Joe Flacco on Sunday in Green Bay. If you want the 49ers to trade for Trey Hendrickson, who's on the expiring year of his deal, because Cincinnati did not give him an extension when he wanted to stay with Cincinnati, we have to hope, pray that the Bengals keep on losing. Because if they keep losing, from a business standpoint, it just makes sense to trade him away, get value back, instead of letting him walk in free agency for nothing when your season is going to be lost because Joe Burrow's not coming back until December. Here's what Dan Graziano said about a Niners trade. I've been told the same thing on Hendrickson, that the Bengals don't intend to trade him. Let's see what happens there the next couple of weeks. If they lose to the Steelers, Jets, and Bears, and wake up on deadline day with the 2-7 record, maybe they consider it. But if they beat Pittsburgh on Thursday, the Bengals will have reason to believe they can hang in a messy AFC North Division race, especially if they still harbor any hope of a Joe Burrow return. Thursday Night Football, Bengals, Steelers. In the words of our great Steelers talk host, Jack Sperry, here we go, Steelers, here we go. We need the Steelers to win that game. We need Aaron Rodgers to go off. And I'm sorry, Cincinnati, I don't really have anything against you, but I want Trey Hendrickson in a Niners uniform. Blame your own organization for not giving him that extension. There are also other trade options who the Niners could look at, according to Jeremy Fowler. All pass rushers here. Rashawn Gary of the Packers. Jalen Phillips, really good young athlete for Miami, although he did tear his Achilles last year. He's back from it, rounding into form. When he's been healthy, he's been highly productive. But of course, that injury history of note for San Francisco because of their history with injuries. Bradley Chubb, an older veteran, could be a great scheme fit for San Francisco. Well-traveled player between Denver and Miami. Could his third stop be the Niners? He'd be a really good veteran who this year has 4 sacks. Jermaine Johnson, we'll talk about him more so in a moment. Will McDonald, also of the Jets like Jermaine Johnson. Arden Key is a player who the Niners brought in a couple of years ago. He played well under Chris Kocurek, really resurrected his career after he was kind of a bust to start off with the Las Vegas Raiders, ended up getting paid because of that Niners stint. And then another Green Bay Packer because of the logjam at defensive end because of the acquisition of Micah Parsons, Kingsley Enagbare. Now, Rashawn Gary to me is a really interesting player because he's been highly productive throughout his career, and I like his game. Is he twitchy? Does he pop off the tape as far as his athleticism? Not really, but at 27 years old, he's been a really steady player. Now, he has a really good size at 6'5", 277, and he has a really good technique, but he's just been so consistent as a player, and I think the Niners would really like him. He's also been pretty durable outside the 2022 season. For his career, 2 sacks, 5 sacks, 9.5, 6, 9, 7.5, 4.5 this year. And obviously the Packers might be hesitant to trade him to San Francisco because they hate the Niners. But you look at that pass rush production over the last 4 years, that could really help out the Niners. After that trade of Micah Parsons, they clearly have a better feel of what their future is going to be at the pass rusher spot. Rashawn Gary is going to be a free agent after this year, and he would come to the Niners with some pedigree. I like the game at Michigan. He was a 12th overall pick back in the 2019 NFL draft, and if the Niners wanted to hold on to him and not break the bank with a pass rusher, I don't think he's going to demand crazy money after this year. As for the 2 Jets players who I noted, Jermaine Johnson and Will McDonald, Robert Saleh knows them. And Robert Saleh has had these 2 players play very well under his watch, and he'd be able to bring them in. They can get caught up with this scheme, acclimated very quickly, and they could potentially be plug-and-play starters for the Niners, and that's what San Francisco needs. If anything, it takes pressure away from Mykel Williams and Bryce Huff so they don't get double-teamed as much. For Jermaine Johnson, he too suffered a torn Achilles last year, and so he's only played 2 games this year, but he is back. The year before that Achilles injury in 2024, had a breakout year. 7.5 sacks, 16 quarterback hits, 11 TFL, 7 pass breakups, good against the run, can get after the quarterback. Will McDonald also thrived under Robert Saleh. Now, obviously, Saleh got fired around this point of last year, but McDonald last season went on to have 10.5 sacks. Before that, Saleh knew him in 2023, a part of the front office and coaching staff that drafted him to New York. Maybe he could bring him to San Francisco. In 2025, McDonald, 2 sacks, 5 quarterback hits, and 3 TFLs thus far. There were also 2 linebackers mentioned on this ESPN article. Quincy Williams of the Jets, we talked about him earlier this week, and then Christian Harris of the Texans. Christian Harris is interesting because we've already talked about Quincy Williams. I would like that. Another player on an expiring deal. And he's a really good player who Saleh knows, and he's played very well under Saleh. He had some triple-digit tackle seasons. He can get after the quarterback. He can play the run. He can hold up in coverage. If the Niners made a trade for a linebacker, Quincy Williams is at the top of my list. He's also young. As far as Christian Harris goes, he's now a backup and a reserve for the Houston Texans. Who's the Houston Texans head coach? D'Amico Ryans. Another player who knows the system, has started a bunch of games, and he could bring San Francisco a veteran presence at that middle linebacker spot. This is important to remember, though. It's important to keep in mind for all Niner fans out there. I know that San Francisco is 4-2. You want the Niners to make a trade. San Francisco has shown a lot of signs of life. They're further along than what a lot of people thought with this young team, and these young players are playing really well. And after losing Nick Bosa and Fred Warner, a lot of fans want to see the Niners make a big move or moves. But if the Niners do make moves, it has to fall under this umbrella. The 49ers want help right now, but they also want players who can help beyond just 2025 so that they can continue to build this organization with this young collection of players into the future. And the Niners also really want to preserve picks. They don't want to give up a bunch of picks for a player who's just a rental for 2025. And if he doesn't work out, if he gets injured, it's just a wasted trade. They want to hold on to their picks if possible and not overpay for a player who can help them a little bit in 2025, then walk after this year. Still to come here on the show, is it Christian McCaffrey or is it the Niners offensive line with this Niners run game struggling? Who is to blame? We're going to have a conversation about that and also how the schedule could impact a trade for San Francisco. Let's get to our sponsor, though, PrizePicks. One of our valued sponsors here at Chat Sports. We appreciate them for making today's 49ers Report possible. This is America's #1 fantasy sports app. Millions of users are signed up and active, so hop on board right now. Pick, predict, play. Turn your takes into cash with PrizePicks. Available in 45 states across America, including California. And it's very easy to play. You can get your picks in less than 60 seconds. You pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections, and you can win some big-time money. PrizePicks is also the only app that offers stacks. This is new, meaning you can pick the same player up to 3 times in the same lineup. You want to pick more on Brock Purdy's pass yards, rush yards, and touchdowns once he comes back. Now you can pick all of them in the same lineup, only on PrizePicks. Follow other PrizePicks players directly on the app and copy their lineups in one click. Whether it's a friend, a celebrity partner, or just somebody whose picks you like, hit the follow button and check out every lineup they create in the new feed tab on PrizePicks. A little 2-pick power play action for some Sunday night football. Niners, Falcons, Bijan Robinson more than 80.5 rushing yards. Christian McCaffrey more than 54.5 receiving yards. Download the PrizePicks app today. Use the code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, it's good to be right. All right, I'm excited for this section of the show. The 49ers run game here in 2025 has been lacking. It's been a problem and an issue all season long, which is really a surprise in Kyle Shanahan's offense, which is known to be a run-heavy and run-successful team. What is the problem with this 49ers rushing attack? Is it the Niners offensive line, or is it running back Christian McCaffrey? Christian McCaffrey, I don't think, is the player who is as spry and is as explosive as he was in 2023 when he won NFL Offensive Player of the Year and he was top 5 in MVP voting. But Christian McCaffrey is not cooked, and he's still one of the best running backs in the game. This Niners run game, though, it has been awful all year long. Literally one of the worst units in the NFL at running the football. Yards per carry, 3.1. That ranks 32nd, dead last in the NFL. They're trying to run it, just not to levels of success. 26.8 rushing attempts per game. Their rushing yards per game, 30th in the NFL at 82.2. To me, it is not Christian McCaffrey, and he should not be blamed for why this Niners run game can't get going. Because even when Brian Robinson is on the field, they can't run the ball successfully. Even if they had Jordan Mason and he could bulldoze cats, I don't think he would lead to this Niners running game being successful. To me, the issue is the 49ers offensive line, especially along the interior. Connor Colby at left guard, Jake Brendel at center, a struggling Dominic Pooney at right guard. And John Feliciano said yesterday on the radio everything that I've been saying about Pooney. It's physical and mental right now. But right now, the interior of this Niners offensive line is playing like one of the worst units in the National Football League. And so often when the Niners do try to run the football, regardless of who is back there are so many TFLs. These running backs have no chance to pick up positive yardage because they're getting hit in the backfield almost instantly after they get the football. Now, does CMC look as fast as he did a couple of years ago? No, I don't think so. I don't think he's as explosive of a player. He's also a running back with a lot of mileage on the tires in his late 20s. And last year, he played 4 games with double Achilles tendonitis and that knee injury. But the Niners' interior offensive line is getting bullied and pushed back. And that's why San Francisco cannot run in between the tackles. And so I did some deep dives trying to dig up some numbers for why this Niners rushing game is bad to support my argument and my reasoning for why it is the Niners offensive line behind these run game struggles. And according to Sumer Sports, yards before contact for Christian McCaffrey, 2023, when he won Offensive Player of the Year, 1.85 yards before contact. This year, it is down a full yard to 0.81. That means when he gets that handoff, less than a yard after getting that handoff, he's pretty much getting contacted, right? And then I looked at the Pro Football Reference numbers. These numbers are even worse because of how much yardage he was able to pick up before contact in 2023. 3.1 yards. Now, the Niners offensive line then wasn't great, but it was better than the Niners offensive line now. And here for McCaffrey, His yards before contact, 1.9. So this points to a 49ers offensive line issue. And a couple of things can be true here. Yeah, Christian McCaffrey might be lacking some explosiveness, but he's still one of the best running backs in the NFL. And when you turn on the tape, when the Niners try to run it, their yards per carry as a team is so low because they can't block along the interior, and any run that goes in between the tackles, there's no chance of that run play being successful. Even when they try to run it to the outside, defenses are able to track the Niners down. So I don't think it's a CMC problem. I think it's the fact that this Niners offensive line stinks. Last topic here on the show. This is how the 49ers schedule could impact what they do at the NFL trade deadline. You think about where the Niners are at right now. 4-2, 3-0 inside the division. They've won 4 games with 2 different quarterbacks, and they've won 3 games on the road. All of their wins have come one-score ball games, and right now, win-loss record tied with the Seahawks and the Rams at 4-2, but because they've beaten Seattle and they beat the Rams, they're atop this division. In the NFC, the Niners right now, if the playoffs were to start today, would be the number 3 seed. Buccaneers in the 1 spot at 5-1. Packers, 2 seed, 3-1-1. The Niners there at 4-2. The Eagles there at 4-2. Seahawks, the 5th seed at 4-2, followed by the Lions. Rams at 4-2. Then the Falcons, Bears, Vikings all at 3-2. This points to a couple of different things, right? That the Niners right now are sitting in a good position. Anybody would have taken a 4-2 start to begin the year. It also goes to show you how close everything is inside the NFC and how wide open the NFC is. Now you look at the Niners' upcoming schedule. They are favored against the Falcons on Sunday Night Football. This Falcons offense is going to be really hard to defend. Kyle Pitts, Bijan Robinson, Tyler Algier, Kyle Pitts, or already said him, Drake London, Michael Penix slinging the rock like he did at Washington. But we saw this with the Jags week over week, right? You have one of your biggest wins in years in prime time. How do you respond to that in the next game, especially on a short week? This is a classic letdown spot for the Falcons, and not only do the Niners have the rest advantage, the Falcons are traveling across the country. Niners should be able to win this game. They are favored. They are currently not favored up against the Houston Texans, but the Texans aren't really that good of a team. San Francisco should be able to win this game. They'll be favored against the Giants. We'll see what happens against the Rams. They should be able to beat the Cardinals. So you should win this game. You've got an opportunity to win this game. You can take down the Giants. If you do that, 5-2, 6-2, 7-2. After week 9, going into week 10, that's when the trade deadline is. Kyle Shanahan has fared very well against Sean McVay. You beat the Rams with all of your backups. Now you'll be hosting the Rams in this game following the deadline. You've already beaten the Cardinals. They're down bad right now. Did you see the Jonathan Gannon quote today? It was a doozy. Then you have the Panthers at home on Monday Night Football, on the road against the Browns. They've already given up. You have a bye week, week 14, opportunity to recharge. That trade acquisition can get more caught up. The Niners can get refreshed and healthy for a stretch run where you play the second worst team in football behind the Jets and the Titans. You got to go on the road to play the Colts. Hard game. They're really good this year. Bears at home on Sunday Night Football, and a Seahawks team you've already beaten. And so when you look ahead for San Francisco, if they're sitting there going into the deadline with 6 or 7 wins, you got to make a move because this NFC is wide open. At that point, you would have shown that you can compete, and I think it's valuable to give your young players some playoff experience. And I know I saw some people down in the comment section saying, what, so they can go one and done? To get young players playoff experience is huge so that when you are ready to compete, they're not new to the bright lights. The other thing is get into the dance and see what can happen because with some of the high-level players on this team, with the coaches on this team, you'll have an opportunity to win any playoff game that you play in. I firmly do believe that. So what will the Niners' final record be? I predicted 11-6 before the year. 4-2 right now. 11 wins is doable. I think that they can win 11. You give me yours down in the comments section.